Afternoon. With you. This is a first-time opportunity for trade promotion organizations to actually share their concerns and priorities with the WTO and the OECD through ITC. So I think if you can take 5 minutes to fill out the survey, this will be very useful. It is really the first time that we're doing this. And so our colleague Marion Jansen, who is supervising this, has asked me to tell you that you can leave the surveys that you filled out either in the dedicated space outside here or just with us, the ITC team, at our booth. So you are more than welcome to choose either options. Okay, so now we're starting the session on ICTs for TPOs. I think ICTs makes this sound very technical. We are not going to talk about wiring your organizations and IP and getting hardware and software into your trade promotion organizations. This is really about management in the 21st century. It's about service provision in the 21st century. So this goes way beyond IT. And we actually prefer to focus on the notion of digital transformation. And when we look at different steps in this process, there is, of course, the internal gains that you will make by having the right infrastructure, the right ICT infrastructure in your organizations. There are also the external benefits when it comes to the services you're providing to clients, to stakeholders. And then, when you combine all this and you go to the next level, make this a little bit mysterious, then it's when you enter the space of digital transformation. So what does this mean, actually, digital transformation? And we have here at least two companies, two TPOs that have gone this path, and I can assure you that if you look at your own usage of new technology, wherever you are in the world, it doesn't matter whether you are in the OECD or if you are in LDC, as a TPO, you will end up there as well. So it's just a matter of time. So we'll try to see how you get there and how you can make best usage of technology. With us to discuss this topic, we have Dr. Maria Amador-Dumois, who is an associate professor and export control officer with the University of Puerto Rico at Maya Gress. Yeah. We have Markus Suomi, who is the chief executive officer of FINPRO in Finland. Markus has a private sector background. We heard earlier in the plenary session that Australia has two-thirds of their staff with private sector background, and here FINPRO is showing the way. So is also Christoph Peter, who is the head of export development at Switzerland Global Enterprise. He himself has a background with AXA. And so risk management is very familiar to him, and I think that's an important dimension of managing successfully the digital transformation. We have with us also Sami Ahmed, who comes from Bangladesh. He is the executive director of the Bangladesh Association of Software and Information Services. Because as you know, the World TPO conference is not just about TPOs, it's about trade support institutions at large, whether they are chambers of commerce, industry associations, and here we have a good example of how what is of interest to trade promotion organizations is actually relevant to all of the trade support institutions. Last but not least, we have Mr. Andres Reit, who is a special advisor to ProChile, and who has launched a fascinating initiative called Platzi, which is leveraging crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter and to do export development and export promotion at the same time. So I think we will really have a lot of interesting comments here and inputs from our panelists. But to get started, we will not do without the speaker presentations. So we have Markus, who will please kindly start with this first one. And then we will have Maria. We will of course take questions, but to keep it sequential, we will have the floor open
simple reason is that I only joined these circles, the TPO world, about half a year ago when I joined FINPRO in Finland. Before that, I have been working in the high-tech industry for the last 20 plus years in both companies, big, medium and small, including recently also a startup. So I have been on the other side of the TPOs, working for companies who are benefiting from our work. So today I will be talking a bit about our experiences at FINPRO and sort of past experiences, but also a bit about our sort of thoughts about the future as well. So what FINPRO stands for as of today is that we are a private but completely publicly funded organization in Finland. Technically, legally, we are an association. The association was established in 1990, so about 95 years ago. So we have quite some history, and most of that history has been spent with the export, so helping Finnish companies to go to the international markets. 2 years ago, we followed the trend that was a discussion topic for this morning, so we merged Investin FDI activities to FINPRO, and now when we get to the end of this year, we will also add the Visit Finland activities to FINPRO, and these are the key activities for us to then start in 2015. Our export activities have gone through quite a change during this year. So that was what I came in for, to lead that change. Through the last 10 to 15 years, FINPRO's way of working, the operational model in the export area has been the consultancy. We have offered consultancy services for the companies, like so many other TPOs do. But the change that we have now implemented in the export activities that from onwards, FINPRO will offer services, advice to companies in the form of free advice. And of course, when it's free advice, one cannot sort of anymore implement more lengthier consultancy projects. So our way of working has had to change completely, and I will talk a bit about that as well. And on this slide, you see the current ICT architecture at FINPRO export side. So this is only covering the export side, not the Investin or the Visit side. And what we have here is I would say, pretty heavyweight ICT system. I have a background in working also for the consultancy companies and leading consultancy companies in the past, and I can say that there have been quite a lot bigger companies in terms of the headcount that have been kind of getting along with their business by just using Excel in the various ways. But here at the FINPRO, we have implemented quite a heavyweight system with a number of individual tools that have been integrated together. So the CRM is obviously right there in the middle of the architecture and the whole system. But then we have implemented a project management system. We call it VIP. It's actually Clarity, a commercial project management system, and that has been then furthermore integrated into other systems like the Feedbacker, that we use for collecting feedback from our customers. Avenue, that's a Microsoft SharePoint-based system where we store all the documents related to client assignments. And all of that is then furthermore integrated to the invoicing system and to the bookkeeping, to the finance side, and on the other side then to our intranet system and our HR system. And since most of these tools don't come as a pre-integrated, we have spent quite a lot of effort in implementing the integration points. The rough estimate is that we have spent about €500,000 in doing the initial integration, but what one easily sort of forgets is that once you are past the initial integration, then you have an ongoing maintenance work that you need to do every year. And given that you have so many different systems, individual systems, individual components that are coming from different companies, that has led into a bit of a challenge. So imagine that you, for example, update your SharePoint version. Microsoft says that no interfaces are changing, the APIs, the integration points work exactly the same way as in the past. But when you have a system of this level of complexity in terms of integration, what you often find out is that some part of the system stops working, or there are errors in the integration points that used to work flawlessly in the past. So even sort of updating upgrading one part of the system often sort of then causes us to sort of do quite a bit of active maintenance work that of course takes quite some money. When things are working with a system like that, then they are truly working well. So the level of automation from one system to another and how it supports our process and workflows has certainly contributed to the productivity that we have been enjoying. Then again, one has to remember that to get those productivity gains, one has to be also then working in a relatively stable environment. And as I was sort of mentioning right in the beginning, we have been now going through quite some changes during this year, and that has impacted our key processes and workflows in a very significant manner, which then further on means that we probably have to renew and re-implement a big portion of our whole ICT system during next year, just to make sure that, and actually just to keep the ICT system relevant to our new way of working and our new key processes. So when you consider a system like this where you truly invest into ICT, I think one has to sort of really think about the stability of their processes and what's sort of the outlook for the next few years. So that's truly critical. So why do we use CRM extensively, and CRM being a key part of a central piece of our system? For quite a few reasons that I think are obvious to many of you. We obviously want to get the full customer view, fully understand what we have done with any individual customer, also in the situations where our personnel is changing. We are mostly sort of recruiting and have been recruiting for the last 5 years from the private side. That also means that the people who come to FINPRO have perhaps a shorter careers at the FINPRO than people who have been getting through the ranks, starting from the public sector. And that means that when people are changing more often, then losing knowledge related to customers is a real risk. And therefore CRM and the links from the CRM to your information management systems, in our case the SharePoint system, are absolutely vital and critical, so that when the client is calling, you actually know what you have done with the client in the past. We also work in a highly distributed organization, and we also work in a highly distributed manner, meaning that the clients can contact our individual trade centers in the 36 different locations that we have in the world. And there is no central key account managers or single points of contact for the clients. So when a client calls, for example, our office in India, then our people in India can take a look at the CRM and right away get an idea that, okay, who is this client? What have we done for them? And also in terms of sort of making sure that our work has an impact, it's essential that we also understand that what kind of client it is. We have to certainly segment our clients, and we have to understand what's the return on investment when we work with a client. And I guess all of us have some clients who are pretty good at using public resources, so they are calling different offices and trying to get some free work out of the organization, even if their chances of really doing global business are relatively limited. So for companies like that, it's helpful to see in the CRM system to know what's the potential, what are the achievements, how much effort we can and we should invest into activities with them. In terms of our marketing efforts, we have also a dedicated marketing automation tool that we are using for all of our marketing campaigns. So whenever we have some new information to publish, whatever it's a market opportunities in certain markets, whatever it's a start of a new industry segment, a specific development program, or some other activities, and we want to make sure that that the message, those messages are getting to the right recipients, and also that we are able to cut through the noise. We know that the companies in today's world, they are getting information from so many different sources that it's very hard to break through that sort of a barrier of noise and make sure that when they get your message, then they sort of truly take their time to understand it and figure out what's the impact on their business. So for us, it's really important that when we send out information of any sort to our clients, it's as relevant as possible, so that we can make sure that whenever they get a message from us, they always take their time to read through that. And that's where the CRM and our marketing automation tools come into play. So they are integrated into our social media channels, to our email campaign system, to our website, to our feedback system. So whenever a client is clicking a link in the email, for example, then they are directed to our website, and when they fill in the form, they want some more information, then that message is getting back to our CRM. It's automatically allocated to the right person in our organization, and we can get back to the client in the fastest possible manner, and the most relevant person in our organization is doing that. So it's a highly integrated system for the marketing messages. Follow-up and reporting certainly integrated into CRM, a huge benefit, I would say, in a distributed organization, what the typical TPO is. With the small offices around the world, it's sometimes difficult to figure out that what's the level of work, what's the level of workload, what are the achievements with the individual offices, even with the individuals in those offices. It's a key task for the leadership to constantly analyze the operations, to figure out what gets done in the various places, and then take the appropriate measures to drive up the improvements and the performance. So that was about the past, and then a few words about some of the new ideas for the ICT for us going forward. And for us in the export area, the future will be different than in the past, because in the past we offered ourselves the consultancy services. We were a monolithic entity, just like any consultancy business. Now going forward, we won't be doing that, but rather we will be sort of then working in a more networked fashion, where we will give some advice to our clients, but then we need to make sure that we will always find the best possible experts, the commercial consultants or other individuals who can help our clients. So it's a totally different gameplay for us going forward. And therefore some of the ideas about new ways of applying the ICT are particularly of importance for us to implement the new way of working. There are many interesting areas. I have only mentioned here two. The The first one is simply sort of continued use of and development of e-services for the clients. So in the past slides, I mostly discussed the use of ICT for the improvement of internal productivity. We do have, and we have had for years, a number of services for the clients, so the customer interface side use of ICT. But when we look to the future, I think we will only sort of keep on sort of improving that side, and perhaps we will shift quite a bit of money from the internal productivity improvements and use of ICT to the external side, because that's where we see the biggest gains for us going forward. So extensive use of e-services helps us to scale up, to higher client volumes, so that more clients can get self-service, more clients can get a quicker service by using our services, whether it's sort of assessing their own capabilities, assessing different markets, getting various pieces of information that are relevant, linking to other organizations and so forth. But also there's a sort of a more advanced aspect of that, which we call the online community thinking, and that's really sort of thinking about our organization as an extended enterprise. So rather than just focusing on what we do within FINPRO, it's really sort of building a platform, and actually more than platform, building a community of individuals and organizations that are relevant for our clients. And the challenge and the opportunity there is obviously to find out how can we make this community to work together. If I give you just one example, sort of one activity where there is a value to be made, think about sort of making research in the new markets, about the new business opportunities in the faraway markets. Our own people, of course, follow up, what's happening in those markets, try to collect as many signals as possible, and try to make sense out of those signals to understand what's the level of importance, what's the size of the opportunity for the Finnish companies. But, with the limited resources that we have, it's often difficult to really sort of accurately sort of collect all the signals, and especially do the analysis part. But if we can get other organizations to come into play, chambers of commerce, individual consultants, bigger companies, Finnish companies who are operating in those countries and are willing to contribute to our efforts. If we can get that kind of a community to work together and add cumulative value into both to the signals and to the analysis, then we can certainly create new value. So this is really taking the principles of today's consumer internet and the solutions that work there into the business world and applying to the task at hand. So there we had some examples about both the past and the future, and that said, I guess it's time for the next keynote speaker. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for being here and to listen to our presentation. I would like to share with you something that it goes with this topic of e-services. In my case, I have been working on how trade promotion agencies use the internet for delivering their services. In this case, the main question was, what were the main internet services offered? This is part of our research already published, and we are in the second phase where we are including more countries, and we are in the first one, there were 17. Now you see that we have 8 Caribbean countries, we have 7 Central American and North American, Latin American, that's why Mexico is there, and 10 South American countries. And what we found out is, like in this trade promotion organization, and this goes with the topic of our conference, only 36% only focus on trade promotion. This is a change from the research from 2 years ago, where most of them, they were only focusing on trade promotion organizations. Right now, what we're seeing that they include also the services of investment promotion, as in the case of FINPRO. We also see other kind of services, like in FINPRO also. They have also destination promotion, also called tourism promotion. In that case, it's only 24%. So we are looking at switch in the Latin American organizations. Also, based on the research, we are seeing a transformation on the focus of the trade promotion organizations. What initially was a mere mirror of the trade promotion, basically saying, this is the company, this is trade promotion organization, this is where we're locating, and these are the services that when you go to our offices, you will be provided, not too much information. I have moved to services to exporters. That's the most part of organizations right now. And those services is services to exporters with information for exporters. Another move has been in focusing on services to buyers, also with services to exporters. And a fourth type of organization focus has been to use integrated services. In the case of Latin America and the Caribbean, the 25 that I presented previously, you can see that there are only 3 that are still only focusing on presenting this is our organization and where we're located, and very, very basic information. The most basic ones are Bahamas and US Virgin Islands, and Guatemala is a little bit more advanced in the type of information provided. In the case of the ones that have been focusing on exporters, that you can see is most part of our sample that are 14 countries. And you see that they are divided in 2 parts. The first group, they are providing services to exporters, but are the second ones they are providing more e-services to exporters. We have the buyer ones. This doesn't mean that they are more advanced or less advanced as the previous group. It's just that once you're entering in their sites, not only they are marketing to exporters, they are marketing directly to buyers. In the case of Cuba and El Salvador, it's very interesting, especially Cuba. Cuba basically markets to buyers. They hardly had any information for the local exporters. They have very few information about that. And when they focus mostly is on services, exporting of services. And what is the paperwork that you have to do to be able to take that product or to buy services from Cuba. We have more advanced in buyer focus. It will be Brazil, Ecuador, and Honduras. Very interesting sites. But Chile, Colombia, and Jamaica, they have both. You enter and automatically tells you, what are you? An exporter. In the case of Chile, Colombia, it will be in Spanish. Are you an exporter in Spanish? And then are you a buyer? And then we'll put in different languages. It's very focused on costing for the investors. What kind of services are we looking at? The first one, we are dividing this in 2 parts, export development and export promotion. Because a lot of these sites, we can use it also for export development. But we find out that only 48% of those sites, they really use it for export development, and mostly it's information about the programs. Not all of them have it in the first page, on the first pages. Sometimes you have to go through whole site to find out what programs they are available. They have online consulting. In case of Argentina, it's very interesting. It's not, when I put these examples, it's not that I mean that they are the best. They are there and they are worthwhile to see. And online training, Argentina and Chile has very good online training for export development. In the case of export promotion, we can see that they have online tools for adaptation, product adaptation, market selection, but only 25.4%. And interesting enough, even though some of them talk about the intrasend tools, the trade map, but there are very few of them that tells them you can ask for an account or you can enter free in my country. They didn't use that benefit. They just mention it, the ones that mention it. 60% they have information about the incentives. What if you export, what are the benefits of exporting? But just 4 of them have online applications. So the other ones have to go and they have a long list of paperwork that they will have to put. In the online commercial promotion, in this case, Mexico has an area that is Compranet Mexico, very interesting, and we see that 40% has something similar of procurement opportunities. And we see in cases like in Colombia that from the first page, they have business opportunities. Online training is only 60% versus 64% of normal presential training. And we have, and this was interesting because most of them, they will have training for exporters. But in the case of Costa Rica, they also have online training about how to use their online e-systems, how these e-services work. If you want to use it, what you have to do. And in the case of El Salvador, they have trainings for the trainers, for the consultants, besides training for the exporters. I think that's a very useful tool. In the case of El Salvador, they even have some cartoons for the exporters. If you want to see it later, it's a pretty interesting approach. I think they also use it for their schools. They also have 40% only have online consulting, and some of them have 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And some of them, that is some very interesting thing, they haven't created something new. They are using the social media, Twitters and Facebook, as the way to do consulting online. We have also seen that among these specialized support services, e-services that we'll find out, that we have some documentation integration where the exporters, they send all the paperwork or they scan it, and then it's easier for them to do the whole transaction. These are just 2 examples, Costa Rica and Peru, that use that kind of system, but there are other ones that are using. 2 are using web creation or development or improvement for small and medium-sized enterprises. And the case of Ecuador is pretty interesting because they are not that well known on that area. Uruguay is. So it was expected that they will use some of the services that are very well known exporting right now. Trinidad and Tobago, they have this co-financing, and it's not the only one that has that provides some money for certain promotion activities. But they are one that from the first page they put it because it's one of the programs that they really want to promote for small and medium-sized enterprises. And finally, among some of the specialized support e-services is Plan C, that I will not talk about it because we have Andres here that he will talk about that later. In the services for buyers, the most interesting thing is we of course have export directories, but the quality of export by directories is very varied a lot among the websites. Cuba, basically their directories mostly focus on services. All the others are focused mostly on products, goods. Business matching is an area that you can see in a lot of the countries, and a lot of them have it within some pages, but it's not that clear. In the case of Chile and Colombia, very clear that they are doing that. And something I'm also doing that has to do with business matching is not only let me make some appointments in your country, but bring people to their countries. These are 2 examples, the macroruedas in Colombia, that they bring buyers, and where they match by exporters and buyers. It usually takes 6 months, depending what macrorueda when it's open. And they also have to verify the capacity of the exporter, but also the buying capacity of the buyer. Expo Jamaica Buyer Hosting Program is a similar one. And in none of them, they have any training for buyers. So even though they may have information on how to buy, how to take out a product from there, how to import, but they don't provide any kind of information. In the case of social media, as you can see, Facebook and Twitter are the ones that are being used. In other cases, they use it for consulting too. And YouTube, they use it mostly for training or examples of the best cases scenario. I'm finishing with the case of Colombia. Colombia has a very interesting case, and I put some pages here, and I wanted to show you several important things. First one is that they are a 24 hours, 7 days a week online contact. They, from the first page, they start with their information about opportunities. They have all the languages that they can change. Now with Google Translator, a lot of them they are included in their websites. And they can move between pages. As you can see, they have also information about not only the exporters, in this case, it's also about investment. Here is an example of the business opportunity, and I wanted to show you one important thing is that you can apply for that opportunity online. Not only you can look for opportunities, there's an online application. This is an e-service where they have also, not only people they don't have to call, they just do the application online for the exporters. In this case, it's the page that the local exporter will be looking. It's a page in Spanish. You see that there's no other language because mainly most people in Colombia, they speak Spanish. And you see that there's a phone number. That's something that you didn't see in the other one. Why? Because they are trying to focus each one of the pages to the customer that they are focusing. In all of them, they will have a 24/7 online service that will adapt to the language that they put initially. And this is an example of the macroredas. Macroredas, as I told you before, are business matching that are done in Colombia, and there are several that are done a year. Well, what are the challenges? These are pages, the websites, and social sites that have to challenges like anything else. The first thing that you have to think about, should you focus or not focus on your website? One of the ideas is your organization has very limited resources. I suggest that you focus on the industry sectors that are the most important for you, that you from the beginning state the programs that are important. Don't make them look for things that you have there or you may not have, but they are important for you or their client base. And in specific services that you understand that are the ones that are key for your customers. Don't overinvest. We have pages that they have a lot of information that are not even required by your clients. Another thing, remember about measurement. Measurement. Interactions and services. In the case of social media, there are free tools to evaluate what is called the sentiment, what is the feeling of the users, and it will provide information about what are those services that they want. Also, you can analyze all those communications to determine what are the real services that they are looking for. Also, in case of service performance, if only 2 people use your business opportunities a month, your business opportunity part is not working in any country. And external supports, use it. In the case of Latin America, only one country, Uruguay, was especially including the Connect Americas initiative from the Inter-American Development Bank. That is a program that helps them with information about external markets and financing, something not equal, but a little bit similar to what ProChile is going to be presenting. Think about other services. We have been talking that these organizations are not limiting only to trade. They are doing import, they are doing investments. And one of the things that sometimes we forget, and based on our experience in Puerto Rico, is like exporters, they import inputs for their production. And sometimes they don't know how to negotiate, how to buy in the external markets. Maybe that's an area that we have to start thinking about it. And it's an example that they were saying in the plenary that they are doing right now in Switzerland with the import promotion. So it's something very useful. Another thing is about foreign direct investment. Another thing that we have found in the case of Puerto Rico is that a lot of the companies that are exporting, they had to, in the service area, they follow their clients. We had a big pharmaceutical industry, so a lot of them, they moved to other countries and they moved with them. But now there's those services, they keep it at home and they export those services, plus they have foreign direct investment in other countries, and they are all small and medium-sized enterprises. Well, thank you very much.
Marcus for the presentations. I think here what I would like to do is, before we go to the external services that you mentioned, and I think we'll have some interesting examples from other places as well, it's to go back to the internal dimension of deploying ICT solutions. Marcus, you've been mentioning the situation in the organization with a lot of complex tools, the fact that you have invested heavily in deploying them. And I was thinking of a lot of TPOs that maybe don't have the same resources and have to prioritize. And so here, I would like actually to get some feedback from Sami in Bangladesh on the situation with his organization. So when you listen to Marcus, what is your take on this? I think it's on.
Okay.
Can you share a bit what the constraints are that you have on your end? What kinds of solutions have you deployed? And what is your take on this presentation?
Sure. Thank you, Martin. Good afternoon, assalamu alaikum everyone. So I represent BASIS, the Software Association from Bangladesh. We have over 767 members right now, currently 767 members. So you can imagine that it's an IT association, so being IT enabled is a mandate for BASIS. We get pressured by our members to always keep IT in the forefront every time they get a request from other associations or other companies to implement something new. They come to us first and say, hey, BASIS needs to have this first. So we're always up to date on technology. And for ICT in BASIS, we actually have a lot of ICT tools that we have utilized in BASIS, internal and external. Internally, we have a document management system. We use Google for mail, calendar, other things. Externally, we have our online directory. We use social media. We're very active on Facebook, and Bangladesh has a lot of blogging sites, local blogging sites is very active. So BASIS is active on the blogs. We have to be active on Facebook and the social media as well, keeping not just the industry associations, but also the youth and everybody else connected to what the industry is doing in ICT. But one of the interesting things that we have implemented is the online directory, and which has, so like if you go to our website and you want to search for a company that develops mobile applications, you can easily find a bunch of companies there, and you can use a search criteria to find who you want to, who matches your requirements. So we've deployed an online directory as well. However, the biggest problem that we are facing right now, the challenge, is that we have developed different systems that are not integrated, that doesn't talk to each other, kind of like a contrast to what FINPRO has done. It's a very integrated system. So we're in the process of integrating the moment, but thanks to you now we know that too much integration might be a bad thing. So we need to figure out how much integration we need to do in order to make this thing work better. Opportunities that we have with this online directory and other systems that we have is the data on the industry that we have with us. So a lot of people come to us for surveys of the IT industry, want to know how much, and ICT industry in Bangladesh has grown tremendously in the last 5 years, from a $30 million export industry to $250 million export industry in a matter of 5 years. So you can see that's a huge jump, and we're expecting it to hit $1 billion within the next 4 years. So it's a huge export industry, the ICT industry, but the trends are very important for us to make the plans, to make the right policy decisions. So it's a useful tool for these research purposes as well. So many surveys, when they come to us, we usually provide the data from this tool. And they get a lot of the data from the tool that they can utilize in the survey. But so that's an opportunity to bring in more data options, that we can integrate more data options in there. Companies do provide data, but there's another challenge there. The data is not updated regularly. See, it's a challenge to get the companies that we're facing right now is to update it regularly. But I think once we start doing these strategy papers and policy level decisions based on this data, more companies will be more enthusiastic to update the data on a regular basis. That's one of the things that we think about. But yeah, that's a challenge that we're facing. But like Maria mentioned, our website with the tool, it's more like buyer oriented right now. It's more a target for buyers to come in and find it's not an export oriented website where the exporters also get some services. So that's another focus. We want to make it an integrated approach, more like a do-it thing, that's one of the things that we're focusing on right now. So maybe Maria's slide gave us some ideas, that what we can do in terms of export services with that. So another approach that we're trying to integrate is a one-stop service for investors, local and both international. See, right now, most of the use of this online directory is local. I would say about 80% is local, where they find this matchmaking happens on the local side, some international, but we want to really focus more on the international part, more on the exports market, more on, so making it a one-stop service for interested investors to come into and know the investment opportunities in Bangladesh, not just finding the right company for matchmaking, but also to know the laws and investment policies and what benefits they get and other things, how we can.
Sami, you were very enthusiastic about the external services side, and that made me think that it's true that when you talk about internal systems, it's more the back office, and it's less exciting because there is less trade promotion with it, there's less, you don't see the business so closely with it. Although maybe in the case of Marcus, as you said, you're documenting the relations with your clients also using this area. Here in the room, for those who are attending, I'd like to do a very quick survey. Who views deploying ICT solutions more of an issue internally or externally? So internally, can you raise your hands? What is your priority here? Deploying internal ICT solutions internally? Yeah, a few. And now deploying external ICT solutions. Raise your hands, please. Okay, so there are quite a few people here who have no ICT problems, no priorities in this area. Okay, so when you hear this question about integration, Christoph, what is the approach that you have chosen at Switzerland Global Enterprise?
I think at Switzerland Global Enterprise we started the journey, I would say, 10 years ago. And as Marcus said, we started then with our CRM system, and our CRM system was really the core. Every information we have of our clients is in the system. Everybody has to register every activity, so we are very disciplined on that. And this was the core system. So this was 10 years ago, and now after 10 years we have the life cycle issue and we have to replace the system again. So this needs investment. Then the second system we introduced was an enterprise resource planning system where we scan every documentation internally. All is done by scanning technology in the house. So this was the second big internal platform. Then now we are approaching, the third one is a content management system for the homepage and all the information services, which we rebuild, I think, every 2 years because the technology goes so fast, so we run behind them. And now at the later stage we come into the game. Now we have so many different channels with social media and all the things that we need across media, publishing platform, and another IT investment. So we end up now, after 10 years I would say, with 4 or 5 IT platforms, which of course need a lot of investments. And this has changed a little bit the way we see at Switzerland Global Enterprise the investments. It's really a costly thing if you really want to go this way. And the last thing what we are not trying, and I say we try to do that, is we really try to be mobile. So since 2 years, every employee at our organization has a laptop. We have no telephones anymore in our company. We use the internet telephone technology with headphones. We phone by our computers, and we try to have no paper anymore. So there was a real discussion last year in marketing about printed documentation. And we really decided nearly nothing to print anymore. So this has really changed the way we think and we work, because we have now also desk sharing in our company. Nobody has a workplace anymore. Anybody can sit anywhere. We are completely mobile. We work from home, we work from airplanes, we work at conferences, we work in the office, but usually in the office we don't go to work. There is more about meetings and networkings. We have done studies, and these were very interesting. We asked our employees how much time do you really sit down at your place, and it was very astonishing that a lot of the employees didn't reach it up to 50%, and the management team I think was about 10% or 50%. So decision was made, we don't need any more workplaces, you know, and then we have desk sharing and this way. So it tremendously changed the way we worked and the way we now lead our company. And on the one hand side, it's quite interesting. On the other side, it needs new competencies, how to lead people in a mobile work environment. And it has also a lot of challenges for the leadership team.
So, would you call this your digital transformation?
I would say it's only one part. What we have learned in the last, I don't know how you work now, but remember 10 years ago, nobody has had a smartphone. And look, nowadays, I just had this experience when I arrived here, my laptop bag was in the taxi cab. And the taxi cab drove away. And I said, where is my laptop? And the guy said, what laptop, what bag? And I said, there is another bag in the taxi. So I panicked a little bit, a moment. But then the first thought was, do I have my mobile? So really this was my first thinking. Do I have my mobile? Yes, I have my mobile. Okay, it's not the end of the world. And the second thing was, okay, if my laptop is gone, I have my data stored in the company, so I just have the phone and they should send the presentations down here. So I really think it's changed a lot, and the speed of transformation, it's the biggest challenge for our company. Because as a TPO, we have to catch up with this type of speed, and we have to I think, to catch up with the economy and our clients, because they are really moving fast forward.
The speed of transformation, I think that is something that you perceive in any of your countries, right? The speed of transformation affecting the way you work and the way you have to provide the services to the clients. I think in the EU now, in terms of e-government, you know, if you look at TPOs being in the area of e-government services, 41% of users, public service users, access them online. So there's an expectation also that your services are provided online. The speed of transformation, Marcus, what is the situation at FINPRO? Do you think that this is something that will be, how high is it on your agenda as a CEO of your organization?
It's very high on the agenda, and it was sort of interesting to listen to Christoph's description of what has been happening in Switzerland, because we have been sort of implementing actually quite a few of those same changes. So for the last 2 months, I haven't had any desk. I didn't have any room when I started, and now I don't even have any desk. I have sort of a small sort of a drawer where I can put sort of a few papers, and most of those are nowadays business cards. I don't carry any other paper, and just have my tablet and my other digital tools. And even there, sort of, I think that there are new changes. Sort of, there are changes coming. So in the past, we have had as you saw, sort of a rather complex ICT environment, and also part of that had been the laptops and certain models of mobile phones, smartphones that everyone has been using. Well, I'm actually implementing now buy your own device movement. So my laptop, my tablet, my phone, they are mine. I bought them to the company when I joined as a CEO in April, and I have just integrated those with the systems that we have in the company. So, and it wasn't just to sort of to continue to use my Apple tools, but it was also sort of I would say embracing the digital transformation. So I'm a strong believer that you have to live it yourself if you want to sort of help others to understand what it is and what kind of impact it has on their businesses. If you just sort of listen what others are telling you, read stuff and then try to understand it, I think you fail badly. You truly have to embrace it and live it yourself to understand it. And things like that, they are part of our transformation. And as I mentioned, we are now sort of trying to also lower, if not completely dismantle, the organizational barriers, so that it's less relevant that, are you permanently employed by FINPRO or are you in some other public sector organization or even in a private company. We are building the new ICT infra and the tools based on a capability to support people in the different capacities and roles contributing to those systems and participating in those systems. So I think that's the next big movement that we are seeing. In the same way as in Swiss, so we have internally sort of now mixed the people sort of working ways so that no one has a desk. But the next step is to also take one step forward with our sister organizations working, for example, in the Finnish innovation system, so that they can work in our premises. And if you want to put together all the people who are working, for example, for a certain industry segment, regardless of from which organization they come from, then we can have a project space for them, the physical space, the digital workspace, and support the collaboration in a meaningful way.
So, if you Sami, address also Chile, if you hear these examples from Switzerland and Finland, what do you see as the main challenges of going the same way? I mean, we've heard not only what they've done, but also the benefits of going through this digital transformation. So what are the hurdles that you see in your countries to go this way?
We have been working to implement CRM and trying to move forward to be paperless and try to move from working from home and all that. But at the end, the public institution will also be a challenge to change because there are wide normatives for all the different actors in the public service, and we need to try to trigger a more sophisticated development from the public sector itself. What we are trying to do and our core new business innovation model, it's coming together with the Pacific Alliance. So there is a lot of new air there. There is a lot of trying to do new things. For example, in some new locations, we are having an office together with all the countries of the Pacific Alliance. So in there, we can try to be paperless. We can try to work from home. We can try to work with different platforms. But we are some time ahead. Happily, we have had some new projects coming as Contact Chile or Plan C, who are trying to prepare for the next change. The technology is changing all the time, so what you can do is try to catch up what everyone is doing now, and then we are at the final phase of integrated CRM, or what we are doing and we have been successfully trying to say, okay, we haven't get in touch with this step, but we're going to meet everyone in the next step. So there initiatives at crowdfunding or maybe try to trigger innovation in exports can also, with good like trading promotion agreements with other TPOs, can solve this, and at the end you can save them. Yes.
Sami?
Thanks. Yeah, we went through a transformation. We used to have desktop computers for our employees at our organization, moved to laptops and mobile, and then we had the issue of people losing laptops, either in taxi cabs or wherever. So we have kind of integrated to the cloud now, so anybody can access data from the laptop or mobile phone anywhere. So we have made the transformation within our organization, but the issue is it paperless? Not completely paperless. It's because we work so closely with government, and many of our projects are with government, and so our government is not paperless yet. So it's hard for bases to go completely paperless for the time being. But for internal services, internal communication and management, we've gone completely paperless, and we're utilizing cloud for deploying all our, sharing all our data. So it's very easy. So even if I forget my laptop or my smartphone, anybody from anywhere in the world, we can access data. And that actually has helped us a lot in terms of efficiency and making travel light. So it's been a really good transformation.
Okay, so using the cloud, using third-party service providers basically, right? So we discussed the fact that you can use Salesforce for your CRM, and so as a software as a service, cloud-based services, and you do the same thing for your email, for instance. You don't need actually to invest into your in-house IT infrastructure. You just use the online-based infrastructure, and that is important when you consider the speed of change that Christoph mentioned, where it doesn't really make sense to invest into a system that is supposed to last for 5 years if in 2 years' time it's already redundant or leapfrog. I'd like to go with the same idea back to you, Andres, because here we use third-party service providers, and what you've done is you have done a partnership with a third party. In the case of the service that you're providing for export development and export promotion, which is the service that is putting together social media and addressing the issue of access to finance with Kickstarter and Indigo. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
What we have done with this is that we have been thinking about launching a meta platform. We said, okay, we have this challenge of having public funds assigned to people. We have a huge amount of money in Chile who is being assigned every year, but no matter how much money we assign, we have to keep between 90 and 95% of the people without the fundings because there are too many projects that want to be found, and also there is a circle of people who is applying projects and they just live from public funding. So we say, okay, let's try to make a game changer decision here, and let's try to stop for one program to assign funds, and let's assign just people who will work for the CVs for 2 or 3 months in order to make them export. And then we were looking at some platforms to help us with that, and we flew to the US and have partnership with Indiegogo, a formal partnership with Indiegogo, and an informal partnership with Kickstarter. And then we decided that what we are going to do is that we are going to focus on the people to have the first export. So the first export was something very challenging for us. We saw that the export penetration was growing in a rate of 2 or 3% a year, which is very little, and it's less than the country itself. But the people who has come to the export market and the ones who have become the exports for the first time, they were growing in rates of 15% in the amount of quantities that they were exporting every year. So with that in mind, we had launched Plan C, which it was a public-private company who the idea was we met people from Google Chile, from UPS Chile, from several incubators and accelerators, and at the end what we did is that we were preparing people and we were looking forward for nice products that can be good in the crowdfunding environment. And I think everywhere in the world, when someone will have a building an office tower or flat towers, they will try to sell some units just before the tower is completed, so they can use that money in order to pay for the materials and salaries to make the construction. Here is just the same. We are trying to see that there is people that really want to buy CV's production, so we have all this effort in order for the people to get in touch with there is so much people outside Chile, and the economy is so big in the world that beginning that we will be able to find a group of people who can wait between 100 and 200 or 300 days for a product to arrive. So what we say here, okay, you are going to pay today, and we are going to deliver in 90 days or so, and then we were financing the export effort with future profits, the profit of future savings.
Can you give us a specific example of a company that you have accompanied on the platform?
Yes, we have many actually. We have been working with several companies and we have been successful, thanks to God. But one company, for example, Minca In-House, who is a company who was trying to claim that Chile is a so open country. We have free trade agreements with almost everyone in the world, that the local industry is being damaged because of this. So they made a campaign and they find helping us to go to Kickstarter, and they sold not much, but $22,000 in future savings. So they will send, if someone pledges for a little amount of money, they will send a note or a postcard, but then the money will grow until someone that can buy the whole collection. And that was very good, Martin, for people who wanted to buy samples at the end. You know, this is when you are approaching to distributors and they want to see your quality, they can use this mechanism to buy your first samples, to see how the products are arriving and to see if the quality is matching what they are wanted to sell, and then they can put a large order. But the good thing here, and this was like a response to the subprime crisis, where everything was financial and at the end no one knew what was the real part of some businesses. We help these guys to focus on real products, and then we are trying to help them first by financing them without our money, and it's we don't need to keep 95% of the people outside the program, because if we have enough good companies, we can finance all of them first. The second is a very good way of testing the market. Sometimes you can see that your product wasn't something that the people wanted, so you can go back to investigation and development and to research, and then you can go back with something better. Or sometimes what happens a lot for our first projects, someone who was trying to sell llama fibers, he knew that at the end the market wasn't where he thought it was in Australia. So then he was in time to change the strategy and just focus on the market that was shown because of these websites and this like pre-investigation online.
Okay, so for ProChile, basically working with Kickstarter was a way to help SMEs that are interested in going into the export market to access funding, but more importantly, to get market exposure in a way at a speed that is completely different from the usual channels. So you fine-tune your product and you get market response very quickly on this platform. What about FINPRO and Switzerland Global Enterprise? What kind of innovative services are you offering online to your clients, whether they are foreign buyers or your local enterprises? Can you tell us one example?
In Switzerland, we are offering different online tools. I could just show you one or two services. We try to have a dual product strategy, meaning that we try to have some products for free on the net, and there are some chargeable services in our consulting division. For example, there is a trade for free online tool which is used by nearly 20,000 visitors and clients every year, just to test is my product under the preferential condition and the free trade agreement. So this is one example which we use very much in online services. Another tool is the Market Navigator. in which market do you want to go. So we offer their market intelligence within a tool, online service, everything for free. You can check the markets and you will have a result out of that. Then we have an online tool for new exporters, as you mentioned. I am ready for the export, I am ready to do so. There are about 40 questions inside and you will have a graph outside as a result of the tool. So we have a lot of online services for free for our clients and they are quite heavily used. Yes.
Marcus?
Since we are going through a major transformation, a lot of our old services or services that were developed for the old model of working, they are in the need of renewal, and those new solutions will be developed through the following year 2015. Where we have now focused initially and where we have some tools already being offered is in the self-assessment. So really focusing on especially to those companies who have been mostly in the domestic markets and are now looking at the foreign markets to really sort of them to self-assess what are the capabilities, what are the requirements that they would need to fulfill to get more sort of advanced services. And that of course helps to offload our people then from the face-to-face and one-to-one support that they give.
Okay, thank you. So, self-assessment also in your case in Switzerland. So these are the services that are developed internally, and then you have this kind of partnerships with third parties like Kickstarter. I think in the case of Malaysia, Martrade has recently announced that they will be working with Alibaba. So they would bring companies, exporters to Alibaba to find new clients. We heard in the plenary session about the internet having become a new supply chain, and this is certainly an illustration of how this works if you take Alibaba or Kickstarter as channels to the market, and so being an integral part of the supply chain. We've also heard of trade promotion organizations that integrate in their portfolio these platforms. So it's not just about going to a trade fair in Hanover or in Paris or in Singapore, but also having the companies that you work for on these platforms. With this, I think we'll have to close and leave also the floor to take some space here, because we heard Jose saying earlier that was one of the reproaches from the last session. So now the floor is yours. Please, when you make your statement or ask your question, introduce yourself and your organization, and try to be short, and we'll try to answer your questions.
First of all, thank you so much for the great panel discussion. My name is Ahmed Al-Hakbani from Saudi Exports. We're a newly established organization, so for us this is quite interesting perspective on what to focus on. But general question to all the participants: what would you do in retrospect if you had a clean slate, given your past experiences in the past 10 or 15 years?
A clean slate. We can start afresh. I mean, Marcus, you are almost.
Well, I guess sort of it's always sort of easy to sort of to rethink your approach in hindsight with all the sort of past experience and knowledge. So I think sort of we have gotten a tremendous benefit from the use of ICT in terms of improving our internal productivity. What we would probably have done a bit differently is that we would have settled on a little less in terms of the integration of systems, so a little less effort into full automation of all the workflows. So sometimes you can achieve quite almost the same with the 1/3 of the effort. So that would have been one thing. Another would have been simply sort of reserving more, sort of resources and money to the training. So sometimes when you develop ICT tools, you don't put in the effort to enough effort to really train people so that they know all the capabilities they can use tools in the right way, and that we enforce a discipline, for example, in the use of CRM. So we would have put a bit more emphasis on that as well. And like I said, also in terms of internal productivity, external tools, perhaps a bit more shift on that. All that said, still sort of we think that ICT is a great tool, great investment opportunity for the TPOs.
Maria, do you want to say something about the services maybe that you reviewed here, analyzed for us, that inspired you most, that you would recommend?
Yeah, in my case, I don't represent any trade promotion organization, but if I have to go 10 years before, I will say something similar to what the Philippines representative said, strategy before structure. One of the main problems I have been seeing is that they have been replicating a lot of similar models that don't have to go with their missions, with what they want to go, with their focus on their service of the sectors they want. So they may have been investing too much in things that they have not been that useful for them. And the other thing I will say that they should have also include more emphasis on the part of the measurement of the tools that they have used money on it. Because as you say, a lot of times they invested on some platforms in developing house, and definitely they didn't take out the money out of that investment.
For us, we are really quite a small agency, and for us there, it's very important what you heard this morning. So strategy is very, very important. And the second thing for us is focus. For example, with all this social media stuff, we have a lot of discussions about the business impact. We had a lot of discussions about Twitter. Are there any sales coming out of this instrument? Or is it just, for personal communication? We've been on Facebook, so we deleted the account, because in Switzerland there's no business issue at all. It's not relevant for our business. So we had so many systems, now we clearly focus. We decided on LinkedIn. We will go out of Xing, for example, in Europe, which is another platform. So we really have to focus, and we have to be very, very precise in terms of what is the impact back out of the system. Because otherwise you completely wasted it, and you're completely out there in any social media tools, and at the end of the day it's also about training your employees that they can use the tools that in your strategy are really relevant for the TPO. So this is what we are currently.
So the focus here, what I've heard from all of you, is about managing knowledge inside the organization. For that, it's the document management system and it's the CRM, probably the two pillars that you want to have in the organization if you have limited resources. And then in terms of the services that you're providing to your stakeholders, there is a wide area of services from self-assessment to online directories. We've seen there's a large spectrum. Frightening here if we hear that they are pulling out of Xing, for instance, which in the case of Switzerland, Germany, Austria is an important professional social network, but still you have to prioritize them, so you go for LinkedIn. Is there any other question?
Hello, good evening. I'm Carlos from Chile. And as Andres mentioned, we're in the process of implementing CRM. So my question is for Marcus. We have been trying, we're in the process of stage, but it's a system very heavy for my point of view. It's a checkpoint. But I've been hearing a lot about Salesforce. It's a very dynamic and easy skill. So if you can give us your experience about the benefits and the advantage of using Salesforce, would be very useful.
That's a tough question. So actually at the moment we are using no less than 4 CRMs inside FINPRO. So what you saw on the slide that presented was the export team that is using Salesforce. Then our investing team is using Salesforce. Then the Visit Finland team is using 2 CRMs. The one is Microsoft Dynamics and another one is old in-house built CRM. And so there you have sort of the kind of the whole collection. And you can implement a good CRM system with multiple solutions. So I wouldn't want to sort of go and promote any single one of them. It all depends on what you need from your system, and if there are sort of any additional benefits to be gained with the integration of the other solutions that you are using in-house. So for example, with Microsoft Dynamics, you gain certain benefits if you are, for example, using Microsoft solutions for the other elements in components in your ICT infra. So, multiple solutions work. Still, sort of that being said, I kind of like the simplicity of the Salesforce and software as a service sort of a model in itself. That it's easy to implement across a variety of devices. So especially when you have an environment and a workforce that is using different tools, they are working from different places. You start to sort of appreciate a model that has been fully developed for a cloud-based, multiple device access basis.
We have time for one more question.
Thank you. My name is Anders here. I'm one of the ITC team, but I would still like to have a question for you because it's also highly relevant to us. We also a trade promotion organization, trade facilitation organization. So it's good to learn from this discussion. In fact, I have 2 questions. So one is, so these internal changes moving towards paperless, having new related internal practices, has that changed the dynamics between you and your clients? So it's also that you see a responding behavior or corresponding behavior from their side, or is it something that comes from your side? So to which extent do the clients, so the enterprises and other clients, play a role in this development? The second question is, so what's next? You now move paperless, you're in the cloud, some of you giving up your private workspace. I'm trying to imagine what will come next, because these productivity gains, these sophistication gains, what do you see coming out there after the cloud, so to speak? Thanks.
Who wants to start? I think regarding to the second question, what you can do is try to design programs that are like what you wish to have for the future, and then try them to work and also show how efficient those programs are in terms to turn the organization, how the ICTs is helping, and how can this go further with the others. So then you can show it. It's too stressful to try to change the whole culture without any reference. So then what maybe your next thing to launch can be having this and that like characteristic, and then with that information you can try to convince the other guys that are going further. I think that if you are looking for a next step, is try to realize that there is the technology, it's for the service of the people, so you can be paperless, you can be on the cloud. What is next? To be easy to work, and then, for example, if someone lost the computer in a cab, and then by any mechanism he can record the information, that is very valuable. So then if you are paperless and you are in the cloud, but that is not on the service of your employees, that is not going to be something that is good. So try to put everything on human human scale and try to put everything for your employees first and try for them to be in service of everything. And then if you are having your customers related with these kinds of activities, I think it depends of each sector. For us, we have had huge problems with people who is from agricultural sector, for example, that they don't deal with ICTs, and at the end you need to go and talk to them with the normal way of doing business. But as soon as we are moving to more technological ways, or we are dealing with younger people, we can get to interact in a much dynamic way, and at the end it's very good because you can use Twitter, you can use whatever channel you can just to solve questions that are going to be like stressing all the other channels if you are not catching them in the right time. So the answer for that is that it depends, and then the customers are open to change. They can be like in touch with you. What we did in Chile in order to have a better response in that is that we make online tutorials for everything. You know, people uses a lot of internet. The internet can be accessed from the comfort of your house, so you can put a video there trying to tell the people how to do this and that. They will probably do it like that, and it's a very good way of trying to change things.
Sami, how's the response from your clients to your social media activity?
Right. Well, actually, if you look at the population of Bangladesh, it's about 16% of the population is between the age of 18 to 35. And for the IT industry, if you look at the average age of CEO of an IT company, it's in the mid-30s. So the pressure for us to transform was not internal, it was more external from our members. From the client side, it was actually we needed to transform. So it was the other way around. It was we had to transform for the client's sake rather than the client adjusting to our transformation. That was the first thing. And for the social media part, which is why, because of the population is so young, it's very active social media. So it was more effective, and you have to be in the social media if you want to keep in touch with the companies, everything. You know, you have to be in the social media. So it was more of a part for us to keep up with our client base rather than the other way around. As for now, since we're in the cloud and we're trying to transform to paperless, actually Basis works very close with government. We have a very strong e-governance sector in Bangladesh. This is one of the even recognized by WTPO awards and everything. So Bangladesh is a very strong e-governance sector, and Basis works hand in hand with government. We're trying to help them go paperless as well. It's a tough battle, but at some point we'll probably achieve something. We have helped the government establish the largest portal in the world. It has 25,000 government websites in one portal. So Basis was involved, Basis members were involved right through Basis to help government develop these portals as well. So we are working with government to make it paperless as well, right? So the transformation will happen at some point with government as well, going completely paperless. Next thing would be mobile, which is a technology now getting into mobile devices, tablets, mobile phones, wearables, IoTs, things like that would be the next thing. Another big area of opportunity is big data analytics, because now we have everything in the cloud, we have data, we have social media, we have so much feedback from people, what to do with all this data, how we can plan better. So analytics is an area where we need to invest, we need to look into big data to figure out the trends and how we can use this data for more effective business decisions.
Just a quick comment. So I would completely echo Sami in that, if you think about our customers, our clients, when they are, outside of their work, the consumers, they tend to be already in the digital world and live that reality. So what we have been simply doing is, upgrading the working side, to the same level. So that's at least how the expectations are in the Nordics and Northern Europe. So that was an easy part. For the future, then, I'm still like to emphasize that we think that the ICT so far has been mostly applied as a tool to automate manual processes. We talk about the productivity gains through the ICT step for us is to sort of build completely new ways of working and value chains that ICT enables. So the social and the human value chains that I was talking about a bit earlier as well, that are only enabled with the ICT solutions that make digital meeting points and workplaces and connections possible. So I think that's where we have still sort of some great opportunities, and I'm really looking at the consumer internet space and what innovations are happening there to sort of get some ideas what might be happening on the business side. Sort of a bit later, but still those same phenomena are touching us.
Christoph, if you take a crystal ball, what is next?
First, before what is next, I think strong investments in IT keeps you going with your clients and gives you a modern reputation. So our clients are impressed how we work because they do not expect that from a government or half-government agency. What is next, I think Sammy has said, I see three key trends. First, mobile. Mobile working, mobile thinking, you have to be on the mobiles of your clients, which is quite a tough challenge as a TPO. Second, I think it's what I like very much to play at sea. It's a sharing economy. And I still, even for the European TPOs, I think we should share more services together. Because everybody is still doing, all the own stuff and all market intelligence, and probably we have 25 times the same market intelligence report about Chile and whatever country in China, and we should work more together. So sharing economy, share knowledge, share best practice as we do now. And the third thing which we learned from Google, which is quite interesting, because I will give you this last example, because it changed a little bit the way we work. When we do a campaign now, because we are in the attraction business, when we send out mailings to 5,000 clients, in the previous, 1 year ago, we sent one mail to 5,000 clients. Now we send 5 mails with 5 different titles to 5,000 clients. And we measure the facts, what is more successful than the other mailing campaign. Because often it's just one word that makes a big difference. And that we have learned from Google. Everything is fact-based decision. Nothing based on experience, just based on facts. But experience, try, pilot, and you will learn a lot. So that was really a mind changer also in our company. Very interesting.
We actually could take another question. Anyone? No? Yes.
In case of giving access to such information to partner organizations, do you do that? Just to give you an example, I see some TPOs work closely with commercial attaches, for example, part of embassies. Do they use the same CRM system, or is it what kind of relationship do you have with sister organizations?
So your commercial counselors, are they integrated with your system?
Yes. In our organization, we just have one CRM system, and every information must be there. So it's our key leadership instrument. And without this system, we could not lead on a global level our organization, our trade promotion office. And everybody's really urged to register the information in that system. The second thing is when we talked about strategy, our strategy now mainly based in investment promotion. This is new since 2 or 3 years. We want to be a service integrator. So our content, our information that we offer in our own homepage, we put in the homepages of our sister organizations and providers so that they can use our intelligence connected by technology. So it's really a service platform that we are building up now with all the cantons in Switzerland, all the areas, that we are the service integrator in Switzerland in the field of investment promotion, and more also in trade promotion. So we go this way in combining the intelligence. Yes.
In the FINPRO's case, our CRM system is internal and just for our own use. We have a integration point, a system called Postal Office that we use to exchange information with other government organizations, including those that are responsible for the innovation funding, export financing, and other services. And the idea is to explore, possibly sort of then decide to go forward with a system that would provide a completely integrated CRM system that would then cover all these different functions and different organizations. The benefit, of course, would be that whenever sort of one government organization, whatever sort of fully part of the government or a private public mixed organization like we are, when a single organization would be in contact with a company, they would record the information that would be also relevant for the other organizations, and we wouldn't have to ask the same questions, from those companies over and over again, but we, share exactly same view on those companies. Of course, there are some limitations, like those who are making the funding decisions, financing decisions need different data, and also have information that is under the different legislation when it comes to the privacy. So having a global CRM, a shared CRM, is a quite complex, and not from the perspective of ICT, but really the perspective of legislation and the controlling the access rights and what the information gets shared and whatnot. But we clearly see the benefits in them, because the goal that we have is that there would be a one-stop shopping experience for the Finnish companies when it would come to these services. Whether it's funding, financing, expert advice, market access information, export control and related support. They would only need to sort of come through a single sort of point to the government system, and the machinery on the government side would then sort of figure a way to provide them both reactive services they ask for, but also proactive services that they don't even know to ask for because they don't know that those exist. So the question is how to come up with such a CRM that enables that, but that's our goal.
Okay, thank you, Marcus. I think that's it. We have no further questions, so we will finish a little bit early. What I'll do before, however, is first of all thank our speakers and panelists for this interesting exchange on how to use new technologies to become more productive, more efficient internally, and provide better services. I like what Marcus was saying about the power of networks. I think here the social media developments of the recent years have a tremendous impact on the work of TPOs. And Maria, you've shown us a slide with the presence of TPOs in your region in social media. And it's very interesting that in many least developed countries still you have a very little social media activity, apart from cases like Bangladesh where we see that the IT association is at the forefront here, but other players are maybe not as connected. And here there is all the challenge with public sector, private sector, and the background also, and the regulations that institutions have to deal with. I've also heard with great pleasure the idea of competition. Christoph was talking about the sharing economy. I think CBI here, our colleagues from the Center for the Imports from Developing Countries, is generating a lot of interesting research, and CBI has probably the spirit of competition and actually of sharing, because they generate a lot of interesting research that is accessible on their website. We at ITC do the same. We earlier, but that's obviously what we're supposed to do. We have our market access tools and other tools that you can access online. Also, when it comes to assessing your organizations, we have the benchmarking platform. We have an online self-assessment tool, so we also have ours. It allows you to review your organization and get a profile in a couple of hours that is very detailed on things such as governance, strategy, processes, results and measurement. So that was the little advertisement for our services. In terms of the power of networks, to get back to this idea, and also the selection that Christoph mentioned, between the different platforms, we know that we cannot have 30 accounts to manage. We have to have just a few, and I think in the case of ITC, we've also gone towards LinkedIn. And I think here we have this meeting every 2 years, and then between the meetings, what? So between the meetings now, in our case, we have started with an electronic newsletter that we are sending out every month to share information, but it's really broadcasting information. And the notion of exchange here gets lost a little bit. So I think it would be interesting to continue the conversation on LinkedIn and to set up a group for the TPO community where we can continue the dialogue and exchange good practice and exchange questions also. The questions you've been asking, for instance, I'm sure a lot of people have the same. And this is a platform where we can do what some regional TPO groupings are doing. The ETPO, the European Trade Promotion Organization Network, is doing this. They have meetings several times a year, but physical meetings are costly, we all know this, and sometimes it's just more convenient to ask and exchange over the internet. So I think that would be a very good outcome of this meeting here, to set up such a group on LinkedIn, and then hopefully that will be something we'll be doing when we get back to Geneva, in our case here at ITC. Obviously we'll be sharing the PowerPoint presentations that you've seen here, and I hope that this has been an interesting session for you, that you've learned new things. The issue of prioritization, I think here is still with a big question mark. What should we do first in terms of the internal systems that we need to deploy and the external services we need to offer? There's nothing better than testing and measuring, as Maria was saying. And then there's also the idea of organizations that are listening to their clients and what are the needs of their clients. So being very close to the reactions of your clients, and obviously be there where your clients are. And so it's more than just becoming a modern organization, it's really being a client-oriented organization. We haven't spoken a lot about e-learning. Maria, you've mentioned a few cases. E-learning certainly is an area where you can have a lot of scaling in terms of the export development, especially when it comes to training potential exporters or young exporters. And we see at ITC, for instance, our SME Academy doing quite well in this respect. We see a good pickup, and obviously we are not at the level of these massive open online courses, but we are also more specialized, and I think that's an area where trade promotion organizations can be very successful. So with this, I think we have covered a lot of material, and I thank you for attending the session, which I will close 11 minutes earlier, but I think we don't have to stick to the 2 hours. Flexibility is a key word here as well. There are so many other things we could discuss, but we'll leave it there. We haven't really spoken also about management, the buy-in of management. IT projects are usually seen as a thing to do for the CIO, and that is a major mistake that leads to the failure of costly IT projects. So investing in Microsoft Dynamics, for instance, in some organizations that then end up not being used, and I mentioned Microsoft Dynamics, but it could be also any other kinds of software solutions, because there is not enough management buy-in, and then you also have not the right processes to use these tools. So here, clearly there's a call to the generation collaboration of the leaders here of TPOs that we see. And maybe next at the next World TPO, it's also to see more the rank and file of the trade promotion organizations, the ones that are facing the customers every day and that are the users of the services we've been describing. So the staff of the TPOs, the 20, 30 somethings that we have been talking about here and that are in the trade promotion organizations, but maybe not massively represented in the conference. So with that,